Hey guys, and welcome back to Criminally Curious. My name is Jen.
And my name is Bekki.
And we are Criminally Curious. Stick around because today we are headed back to Argos, Indiana, and we are following the cold case of Brandie Peltz. All right, so today, guys, we are breaking down the cold case of Brandie Peltz from Argos, Indiana for you. So we are going to start with a summary, and then we are going to go through some video and pictures that we took when we were there earlier this summer. And then we are going to talk about our own theories and thoughts that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are. That's the itinerary of this video. So Brandie Peltz was born on October 11th in 1975 to Stephen and Roxy Peltz. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the parents a little bit later on. But she was born in South Bend, and eventually at some point they did move to Argos, Indiana. Now, she did live at 18300 South Michigan Road, which is about 2.5 miles from the town of Argos. And again, Argos is a small town in Midwest Indiana here. And I'm going to show you on the map right here. And so there's the town of Argos, so you can kind of tell what area of Indiana we're talking about. So Brandie Peltz was a 5th grader in the year of 1986. So during that week of December, the early December, she had been sick with the flu, so she had been out of school. On December 11th, 1986, she was sick home with the flu. Her mother, Roxy, called to check on her. She even came from her work, where was in the town of Argos. She worked at Holland's Hardware as a clerk there. And we did drive by to find the place, and it is now known as a different name, but you can kind of at least see the area. And here is a picture of that. So when we drove from Brandie's mother's work to the house, it was actually a short drive. It really wasn't that long. Maybe no. What, 7?
It just seemed like
minutes.
I mean, it seemed like a couple minutes, but
yeah, it really wasn't that far. So over her mother's lunch break, Roxy did come home and brought Brandie some soup, I believe, just to check on her daughter, because at that time in the 80s, this would have been 1986, you did leave your kids at home, you know, if they were sick from school. I know
my kids were at home. They were sick.
Yeah.
And I worked a lot farther away than that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we never locked our doors anyway.
Yeah.
So,
because you didn't really have like a reason to back then. No. I mean, nothing happened, you know. So that was normal, I think, back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And my brother, same thing with my brother and I. If we were homesick, my parents left us alone and called us during the day. So it wasn't anything that was abnormal, I guess you could say. So she did visit her daughter during her lunch break, brought her some soup, and went right back to work because nothing really happened. So now, during this time, however, there had been a string of phone calls that the family had received, and I believe the whole area too.
A lot of other people.
Yeah, it was kind of common around that time in Argos, where some people would get strange phone calls, and it would be this person on the other end of the line, not saying anything, and just
heavy breathing.
Heavy breathing. And so they didn't really think anything of it. And this had happened the entire week a few times. Now, the parents did report it to the police. They did contact the police about it. Or no, I'm sorry. They did not call the police about it, but they did call their phone company about it. That's it. They called their phone company about it. And they really didn't think anything of these phone calls. And if you think about the 80s, I mean, prank phone calls were a thing.
Yeah, very common.
So it wasn't, I mean, I remember we would kind of make prank phone calls. It wasn't heavy breathing or anything, but
I never did.
You know, oh, is your refrigerator running? Oh, go catch, just like kid stuff, harmless stuff. But, so I guess they didn't think anything of it. So about probably a couple hours, I think Brandie did call her mom and said that she got another one of these phone calls with this heavy breathing on the other line. And that was 2 hours before a passerby, so this would have been around 3:00 that afternoon, a passerby was driving along their road and saw some smoke coming from the second story of the home. They lived in a second story home. And he saw the smoke coming and went to the neighbors and told them to call the police. And this passerby
He was a neighbor.
Yeah, he was a neighbor. So he lived in the area. And so he told the neighbors to call the police, got into the house. Now, they did happen to have a dog, so he got the dog out, and he found Brandie.
Downstairs.
Lying
face down in a full bathtub.
Mm-hmm. In a full bathtub.
Yeah.
And she
a bathtub full of water.
Exactly. Yes, face down. And she had passed away. Now, trigger warning here, because we are going to be talking a little bit about the autopsy report, not in depth, just a little bit. So just a trigger warning. So you can skip over this part or stop the video here if you don't want to hear any details about the autopsy. So she was face down, again, found face down in the bathtub by this passerby. She was nude, and they had found bruises on her neck, which suggested that some sort of string or cord or a wire had been used to strangle her. Now, there were two sections of the house were of interest to the police. Her bedroom, which was on the second floor, and of course the bathtub downstairs where she was found. So I believe that some evidence and DNA were collected. They did do an SA kit on her, and she had been SA'd. They collected that her And so what police believed is that the assault happened in her bedroom, and that her bedroom had been set on fire to conceal what had happened there. And then her death would have taken part there, and then she was possibly placed in the bathtub to cover that up. I personally don't believe she drowned. I think she did pass from strangulation after the assault is what I believe.
On the kitchen wall, where back then most people had a telephone, it had been ripped from the wall, or the cord was ripped out or whatever, so it was disassembled. So I don't know if that meant that would she have still been alive maybe downstairs and tried to get to the phone? Why would that be ripped off the wall?
So
if
maybe
she was already gone.
So maybe the intruder came in through the door and Brandie tried to call for help, and the perpetrator could have ripped the phone out of the wall and she could have ran upstairs and
I don't know.
You know, that's actually a good point. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
That could be.
Yeah.
She was still downstairs.
Yeah, that could have very well been. And so that is that was the crime scene, was at the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a video here of us going by her house, so you can take a look and see what it looks like now. So we are following the case of Brandie Peltz. This is her house that she lived in. The fire would have been on the second floor, and she would have been found on the first floor in the bathtub with no clothes by a passer walker by who found her. They saw that the fire was coming out of the second floor and went in. And this is her house. All right, so that is what the house looks like today. So after Brandie was found and the fire was being extinguished, Roxy, her mom, did come home, as well as Stephen, her father. Now, her father worked at Mallard Trailer Factory in Etna Green. So they both came back after they found out of what happened to their daughter. And Brandie was an only child, by the way. She was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was their only child. So they came back after she was found. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk more about some of the notable details of this case. And we kind of got into it a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these. The first thing being the harassing phone calls, okay? Like we talked about before, during this time in Argos, these phone calls did happen quite a bit to a lot of different people about this unsettling, heavy breathing, and they were recurrent. They happened. So here the Peltz family did, like I said before, they did get these calls. They didn't think it was very serious, so they didn't call the police, but they did call the phone company. Now, if you remember a while back when we did the Darlene Hulse case, you'll also remember that she had been receiving these harassing phone calls. So the Darlene Hulse case happened 2 years before Brandie's case. And we're going to talk about that connection in a little bit as well. But that happened in the Darlene case too, when we were researching her cold case.
Yes. And I think it happened to other people in town.
Yeah.
Even at the same time. So it was just kind of almost common.
Yeah. Kind of like what we called earlier. I mean, that's what people did in the 80s sometimes. It's just, just for fun. But you did have those
were not for fun.
That were not for fun.
Yeah.
For kids, obviously, it was. So, but yeah, so this person would call, and they would only hear this heavy breathing on the other end, and then they wouldn't say anything, and they hung up the phone. And so this happened with the Brandie Peltz case and in Darlene Hulse's case 2 years earlier. And that would have been in 1984, and Brandie Peltz was 1986. So that was a big thing too that was happening around the time. Brandie did mention it to her mother about the phone calls. And in fact, the last one that they had happened 2 hours before Brandie was actually murdered.
Or found. She was found.
Found. She was found. That's right. Found. So 2 hours after this other phone call had taken place. So these obscene phone calls were a thing during that time. Now, could they trace it? I mean, this was the 80s. So we didn't have voicemail. We didn't have *69 where you could call back the phone. So did the perpetrator call from their own phone? Did they use a payphone? We don't know that information.
There's no way to know.
We don't have any information on that. So those harassing phone calls are a big part of this case. Another detail that happened that brought some resurgence to this case was in 2008. An author by the name of Thomas Crowell self-published a novel called The Passerby. Now, it's supposed to be a fictionalized account based on Brandie Peltz's cold case. It renewed the attention to her case. So it brought the spotlight back on her cold case. And in the book, I have not read the book. I may read the book at some point. But in the book, he does have suspects that are based on real people in the area at that time. And so we're going to just kind of go through some of the suspects that have been publicly mentioned. So one of the suspects was, of course, the passerby, the person who reported the fire and who found Brandie in the tub. Mm-hmm. So he was the first suspect. Now, it is my understanding that he was ruled out quite quickly by police. His name was not released originally, but eventually it was. And his name was, what was his name? I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure I tell you.
Can you read your writing?
I think I can read my writing.
Okay,
Michael Emenaker was a passerby. And I heard that, I think I did read something somewhere that he had been a teacher in the area. And like Bekki had said, he had lived in the area, so he was kind of a neighbor.
He was a neighbor.
So he had been a teacher, a school teacher in the area. But he was originally a suspect, but I believe the police cleared him pretty quickly. Should they have?
I don't know. That remains to be seen.
I don't know.
We got to get this book.
We do. We actually do. We got to read this book.
That'll be helpful.
Yeah. So from what I understand is he had been going through Maple Grove Cemetery and he had found Brandie Peltz's grave. And for some reason, it really intrigued him. And he did research on it and he found out that it was a cold case. And so he decided to do his own research and self-publish this book called The Passerby. And then, of course, the case garnered some more interest and it was brought back into the public eye, which is
it's good
for these cold cases, right? Because they've been unsolved for 30, 40 some years, and any attention is welcome attention. So again, anybody, that's why it's so important. If anybody has any information, no matter if it seems so small at the time, to tell somebody, because it could be the one thing, that solves the cold case. So it's good that this book brought attention back to Brandie, you know, and brought her case back to the forefront, right? Okay, so the current status on the case is that it is unsolved. It is classified as a cold case. And investigators are encouraging, of course, anyone to come forward with tips. So I will leave the Indiana State Police information down in the description below. But if you have any information on Brandie Peltz's case, you can call the Indiana State Police at 1-800-552-2959 or area code 574-546-4900. But I'll leave that in the description as well. So it is considered to this day a cold case. So let's talk about DNA evidence and what they found at the crime scene.
I would think if they took DNA or saved any evidence off of her body, that they could run that DNA now. I would like to think that they did, and I know from other cases that the locals don't necessarily want to dig back into old cases and do that.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Well, I think, you know, in the terms of the Argos, when you have Darlene Hulse in 1984 and then Brandie in 1986, and the similarities. Let's talk about the similarities between the two. Now, they have not been officially linked, but my own humble opinion, I do think there might be enough evidence to put two and two together. I feel like they're connected in some way. That's just my own personal opinion.
They were in the same area.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah, they didn't live that far away.
Not even not even 3 or 5 miles. It was more like 1 or 2 miles apart.
A couple. Yeah, 2 or 3, I think.
Both had the
essay.
Yeah, and both had the strangulation. They were not both put in water, but
that would be a
difference is a lot. But they both got the phone calls.
Yes.
The heavy breather phone calls. Just that's why I'm really big on the DNA. If they could just do the DNA on both of them.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that you mentioned too was the phone being pulled out, because in Darlene Hulse's case, their phone in the kitchen had been totally ripped out as well. And in this case,
it was ripped out.
It was ripped out too.
In the kitchen,
which would be a similarity, but I mean, and honestly, I think, to whoever the perpetrator is, we know that sometimes age doesn't matter. If the perpetrator really wants to commit some sort of crime or assault, they're just looking for an opportunity for that happened. And who do they look for is the vulnerable, right? Darlene Hulse was alone with 3 young children, home by herself, in the house. Brandie was alone, sick in her house. So who would have known that Brandie was home alone? Well, could it be somebody from her mom's work?
Or somebody at the school.
You just don't know. It could be, bus driver. Never discount bus drivers. But there's vulnerability there, right? It's not so much. I don't think it's so much about age. It's about opportunity.
Well, it's a act of violence.
Yeah.
And so that Yeah, age doesn't matter.
Age doesn't matter, no matter what. Yeah, you're exactly right. I wanted to go back to touch on the suspects a little bit. I did mention the passerby who was like the first suspect, and he was ruled out pretty quickly. There was also, and I read this, and I don't really know where this came from, but apparently there was an unnamed British national that had been in the Argos area. But I think the article said he had not been in Argos at that time. So he was not named, he was cleared basically. I'm not quite sure what that was about. So if you had heard that, leave us a comment below and let us know if you had heard that, because I did see that in a newspaper article, and I can't remember what newspaper it was from. But he was ruled out. And then this one was interesting too. The sheriff's nephew at the time was also considered a suspect, but ruled out. I did see that on Reddit, actually. So I don't know how true that is or not. I was not able to find that in a newspaper article. So again, let us know if that rings any bells for you. I'm not quite sure. But then this last one is kind of interesting to me. This one was actually in a newspaper article that I did read. Was another suspect was a popular minister at a local church. So that's, but I guess I think he was ruled out, but he was a possible suspect at the time. I don't know that much about it. I'd have to do more research, but it was in a newspaper article that I read that he had been a subject. I don't know what the name of this local minister was. Now, Brandie and her family did go to a Wesleyan church in Argos. And I'm not saying that is associated to the suspects, this minister at this local church. I'm not saying that they're connected in any way. I'm just saying that she did go to she and her family went to a Wesleyan church, and in Argos. And she is buried at Maple Grove Cemetery, which is actually the same cemetery that Darlene Hulse is buried in, and they're actually not that far away from each other. And her burial or funeral was overseen by Reverend Robert Humphrey, was the name that was in the newspaper article. And again, I'm not saying that he was tied to this local minister or anything like that, but he was the one who presided over her funeral. So I think here is a good place. I'm going to go ahead and put in our footage from Maple Grove Cemetery so you can see Brandie Peltz's gravestone. All right, you guys, here we are again at Maple Grove Cemetery. If you remember from our previous video, we were here for Darlene Hulse. She was buried here, actually right across the way there. You can see on the end her gravestone there. I left some crystals, so if you ever visit these places and you see crystals, that's from me, Jen. And then covering this case, Brandie Peltz. And you'll be able to see our video on her as well. And we found her grave. She is buried in the same place as Darlene Hulse, right across the way. And you can see right there, Brandie in the middle. And looks like her mother has passed away, but her father is still living. And this is her, where she is buried. And we're gonna pay our respects to her. I will leave her some crystals, and there she is. Brandie, 1975 to 1986. All right, so you could see her gravestone there that we visited. I remember it was not really knowing much about her case and seeing her gravestone. I did get the chills a little bit when I looked at it, because the plot has her father and then Brandie in the middle and then her mother on the end. Her mother has since passed away, as you saw with the gravestone, the markings there. Her mother did pass away. I forget what year she passed away in. But her father is still living. And so I thought that just kind of looking at her gravestone, and I did feel like a little of a connection with her and the tragic case, that this was. So it was a pretty powerful moment, going to the gravesite. So yeah. So anyway, so what I wanted to also say is, again, I personally believe that this case could be related to the Darlene Halls case. It could be the same perpetrator. We're going to do a part 2 of Darlene Halls, so I'm going to wait until that video to tell you exactly why I feel that way. And I think Bekki, we were just talking, I think Bekki believes the same thing as I do.
It's very, very possible. Very possible.
And we'll get into that in part 2 of the Darlene Halls case that we'll be doing. So make sure that you stay tuned and look out for that video when we put that one together. The other interesting thing that I wanted to mention about this one and the Darlene Halls case as well is we had mentioned earlier that Brandie had been sick from school that entire week with the flu. Now, one of Darlene Halls' daughters, I believe it was Marie, her eldest daughter, rode the bus with Brandie. And in an interview, she had said that she remembered that Brandie was not on the bus that week. They rode the same bus and went to the same school. So again, you kind of see the intersection with the families. And right here is a good point. I'm going to go ahead and put a picture in of their school. And side note, I want to mention that we did not get in trouble taking the picture of the school, even though school was in session. And there was a cop car there, but there was no cop in the car. So we quickly took the picture and drove away. Now, we're not going to do this to all schools, so don't freak out that we go to schools and take pictures of every school.
For the kids.
So no, it was just quickly done, and then we got out of there. And then we took a different way, and then there was another cop sitting at the stop sign right there after we had left the school and taken the picture. Remember that?
No, but you were.
I do remember that. I was like, oh no, we're in trouble. But we weren't.
She's had some bad experiences with our escapades.
I don't know if they were
and
bad.
Police being placed in certain places.
I don't know if they're bad experiences. I think I can laugh at them now.
They were really funny at the time.
I can laugh at them. I can laugh at them now, but at the time it happened, I was scared.
They were funny.
And then I have Bekki and Donna go, go, go. And there's a really, anyway, it was fine. We were fine. We're all fine here. So saying that, we will get back into the Darlene Halls case as well. So we just covered the cold case of Brandie Peltz. As we learn more information, we may do a part 2 on Brandie Peltz's case as well. And again, like I said, if anywhere out there, if somebody watching this video, if you know anything about this case, please, 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 no matter how small you think the detail is, contact Indiana State Police. and let them know, because no tip is too small. And this is how these unsolved cases, these cold cases, get solved by small tips. You know, even if you don't think you know anything significant, you know, please do call. And again, I will leave the number in the description below as well. So that is the case that we brought to you today. We do have more cases coming up as well. Make sure that you comment below, let us know of a case. It could be unsolved, it could be solved, but let us know if there's a case that we should check out. We're up for that. We do have a special announcement though for late September. Would you like to tell them our special announcement?
We're leaving on this coming Sunday, which I believe is the 21st. 21st, and we're leaving for Salem, Massachusetts.
Salem!
So we're going to be exploring the witch trials and different things that went on then and different areas of interest. We also are going to go to Lizzie Borden's house.
Yes, we are going to take on Lizzie Borden, you guys. We are so excited.
So that will be that'll be an interesting. That's not in Salem. It's a little ways away, isn't it? A little town.
Yeah, it's about like what is it? 2.5, maybe 3. I think maybe 3 hours.
Oh, is that far?
I think so.
Okay.
River Falls. I think
we're gonna go there.
I could be wrong.
One day, and then some of the witch trial areas that we're gonna go to are really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Like the cliff or whatever it's called. Anyway, we'll have the details.
Yeah,
when we get back, and we'll have pictures. And, it's gonna be a fun trip. We'll be coming back a week from today.
Yeah, it'll be real. I'm very excited about it. I've always wanted to go to Salem, and the witch trials was a crime.
In and of itself, yeah.
In and of itself.
Yeah.
And so I think, we're definitely going to get pictures and video. And then definitely Lizzie Borden is always a case that I think it's fascinating no matter.
But I'm sure she was guilty as heck. But she got away with it.
And I actually did read a book that I will be reviewing as well on this channel soon about Lizzie Borden. About the Lizzie Borden trials. So stick around, check around for that as well. I'll be doing that soon, whenever I decide to. So stick around for that anyway. So we've got some really exciting stuff coming up on this channel. So make sure you stay tuned. If you have not already subscribed, please do so. Share this channel, like, comment, do all those great things. Leave us comments. Let us know what you're thinking about the videos, what cases we should cover, anything of interest that we can bring to you, our viewers, our criminally curious viewers. Let us know, right?
Hey,
yeah.
That's good.
All right. So until next time, I'm Jen.
I'm Bekki.
And stay criminally curious. So we're at a train stop, just turning around from Brandie Peltz's house and headed back down towards Argos. And we got a train. We're waiting. And then we're gonna get some lunch because we are starving. And now, literally, you guys, the train has stopped. We have a stop train here in Argos. I don't know where I'm going. This should be fun. Another fun adventure for the criminally curious, as there always is when we go on these excursions. Yay!